Hello and welcome to this edition of FiTV. I'm your host, Brad Swanson. On behalf of everybody at Florida Internet and Television, welcome to the second to the last day of the 2019 legislative session here in Tallahassee, Florida. Our very first game day on the fourth floor Rotunda, we are joined by none other than Florida's Attorney General Ashley Moody. Welcome to back to the program.
Good to be here, and really honored to be the first guest on game day.
Well, we are excited to have you here. It's an amazing day. The Capitol's full of energy. Everybody's trying to get their bills passed, and we're grateful you joined us.
A lot of energy. I'm having a hard time hearing you. There's so much energy on this floor.
I'll talk loud. We'll get there. So we'll talk loud. It's like game day. It's like a real game day. We just don't have people like boosting up with signs in the backgrounds yet, but those might come.
I have a sense that might be coming soon.
We're probably more likely to get protesters than we are to have fans. So, all right, well, let's start off with yesterday. You were in Brevard, and you were at a major drug bust announcement, and that's going to lead into the first subject. But tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yesterday I was in Brevard County with Sheriff Ivey, who led a team of deputies in that county, and they did a major roundup of individuals who were trafficking drugs, opioids. They actually seized about enough fentanyl that could kill 500,000 people.
Oh my
In fact,
gosh.
It was enough that would kill the entire county's population.
Yeah.
In addition to that, they seized money, other drugs, guns. So you can see what surrounds drugs like this. But what's important is that people are starting to realize that the opioid epidemic is at an all-time high. We are at a crisis level. We lose 17 people a day. We're fighting this battle on multiple fronts, not only in the law enforcement community, but we're fighting it in court against the companies that we believe encouraged and are the root cause of this crisis. And so the governor was there, First Lady DeSantis, myself, and we all stood proudly with Sheriff Ivey to announce that law enforcement success. And,
that's great.
You know, the men and women in law enforcement that do this really put themselves in danger when they come in contact with these drugs. As you know, they are very deadly. The synthetic forms of opioids have been responsible for killing many Floridians. And so we wanted to be there to support them, to commend them, and really bring awareness to the public that this will not be tolerated in Florida. And if you are trafficking drugs and you are preying on Floridians that are addicted to these drugs, we will come after you and you will be prosecuted.
Well, and the fight has been so much bigger than just now. The previous Attorney General worked on this. You've seen governors, you've seen presidents talking about this issue. And in Florida, it's kind of ground zero, both in inbound people bringing it into the state, and then in the distribution. We're the third largest state. If you're in that business, we've got the third largest population to try and sell it to. So it takes people on the front lines. But what are you doing? You ran on this issue in the campaign, but now that you are the Attorney General, what is your office doing in and around this space?
Well, I can tell you that on day one, we put together a work group, a statewide working group, to give us from the experts what we could do to start making a dent in this crisis. And they did that. Sheriff Lima out of Seminole County led that effort. The governor came forward and said, this is important to me, this is important to our entire administration here in Tallahassee, and issued an executive order. Not only did he bring back the Office of Drug Control Policy, he also named me as chair as a statewide task force.
Right.
And we have hit the ground running, as you can see, just with the announcement yesterday. There's going to be a lot of effort and attention and passion behind this. I will tell you, going forward, it's not going to be all about law enforcement. It will have to also include those experts and professionals within our addiction treatment area, and also within prevention. We have children that are becoming addicted to opioids because they don't know the dangers of when you go into a medicine cabinet, when you're at a friend's house and you take an opioid, that ultimately when you do that you can become addicted. We have young adults, parents that are becoming addicted to this drug, and it devastates families.
Well, let's talk a little bit about it now that you're the Attorney General. You have a legislative priority that you're working on. What is this database bill that your office is working on?
Well, in addition to setting up the task force, which we were able to accomplish because of the governor's attention to this and immediate attention to this, we have hit the ground running with the task force. But in addition to that, as I said, we are in our courts also fighting this battle to make sure that Florida can recover from the damage that this epidemic has caused, and that we can get money into treatment of those that find themselves addicted. And so to do that, in order to aid in that, we need specific information that we have access to for other types of actions. We need it for this particular action. And I am grateful to the House that passed out our legislative initiative 111 to 0.
Nice.
I'm grateful to the Senate, who appears to be making progress on that and leading on the issue. And Governor DeSantis came out yesterday and said if it made it to his desk, he would sign it. It's important. It's important to Florida. And so we feel good about this legislative process at this point, and hope by the end of session we can count that as a victory.
Well, you've certainly convened a ton of amazing allies on this. You don't get a unanimous vote in any chamber without bringing together a lot of people on this issue. You have also led the way on working and building a task force to fight human trafficking in Florida. Tell us a little bit about that in our kind of closing minutes here.
And thank you. Your organization is a strategic partner to the Human Trafficking Task Force. And a lot of credit really needs to be given to Pam Bondi for this initiative. She really spearheaded the creation of this task force. I now, as Attorney General, sit as chair of the Human Trafficking Task Force. We are diligently ensuring that each circuit in the state of Florida has an active task force, that they are engaged with not only law enforcement but service providers, that once law enforcement goes in and breaks up human trafficking activity, that the victims left behind have the support that they need and the resources that they need. We have found that in our efforts, we do see that there is activity in each and every circuit. And so our next meeting will be coming up in May. We're very excited about it. We're excited about the progress being made and the attention being brought to the issue throughout the state of Florida.
Well, we're grateful to be a partner in it. We know it's important for all industries to aid you in that. Most importantly, we thank you for the fight that you bring to Florida on behalf of its citizens to keep us safe, and we're grateful to the time you spend telling us about all this great work on FiTV.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, General. Appreciate you.